Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of It's Crystal Clear, a show designed to tell your money where to go instead of always wondering where it went. My name is Felicia Young, and as always, I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your financial journey. Okay, y'all, we're in the middle of the 6 month challenge. I want to know, how are y'all doing? What goals did you set for yourself? Are you getting closer to hitting them, or are you kind of far away? If you're far away, what did you have to do in order to make sure you're celebrating in a few weeks? I want you to not stop. Do not get discouraged if life is lifing. Just start from where you are. I want you to recalibrate, and I want you to keep moving forward. I want you to keep your eye on the prize and do not give up. Okay, so today's episode is called Be Still. So, can you guess what that's going to be about? So, did you know there is actually a Bible verse that commands you to slow down? In Psalms 46 and 10, it says, Be still and know that I am God. In the midst of your busyness, your challenges, your conflicts, and your struggles, it's easy to forget about God and how He cares for you and how He's your strength and that He's your comforter, He's your provider, He's your peace, He is your everything. You've been so busy ripping and running, overworking at one job, or you're bouncing from your full time job to your part time job and still living paycheck to paycheck and still broke. You're so busy ripping and running that you forget to be still and know that God is your provider who supplies all of your needs. You're so busy ripping and running that it's easy to forget what you were truly created for. You were created to fulfill the great commandment, which is to love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor. So, how can you fulfill that commandment if you don't make time to be still? To quit overworking so you can spend time with God, to spend time with yourself, to spend time with those who you love. You were also created to fulfill the Great Commission, which is to go and be special agents for God, spreading His word to everyone, anyone who hears your voice. So, how are you going to know where to go if you don't be still long enough to hear God's instructions? How are you going to spread His word if you're sitting at home worried about how you're going to make ends meet, how you're going to keep your lights on, or you're sitting at work exhausted because of all the hours that you're working just to pay bills? How are you going to fulfill the Great Commission if you don't sit still long enough to let God give you the solutions to your many challenges? You were created to fulfill the great calling. God calls you to become the person that He created you to be and to do the things that He created you to do. And He will walk with you every step of your spiritual journey where you are to learn new things about your unique design, learn how to make decisions within His will for your life, and be included in the work of His kingdom in order to make your life count for eternity. Y'all, you were created to live an abundant life. In John 10 and 10, it says, The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I'm going to take some time to unpack this verse. So, first of all, who or what is the thief in your life that's destroying or trying to destroy you? In regards to what you're trying to do through this podcast, I'd have to say one thief is the mismanagement of money. How are you going to go and spread the good news about God or fulfill your calling if you're constantly living paycheck to paycheck? If you're constantly spending more than you make? If you're constantly making time to swipe that card? If you're constantly trying to figure out how to pay that bill because you did swipe that card way too many times? You're allowing the thief of mismanagement rob you of your promised abundant life. Another thief is time mismanagement. So instead of being still, to hear what God has to say to you and what He has to say through you, you're making time to chase the bag, but you're overspending the bag. So now you have to make time to overwork in order to chase the bag again. At some point, I want you to be still, to hear what direction God is leading you in, to fulfill His calling for your life. That will allow you to start attracting the bag instead of always chasing the bag. Another thief is life mismanagement. A lot of you are operating on autopilot. You're so consumed with the pressures of life, the stresses of life, the demands of life, that you aren't enjoying life. How often do you wake up, get dressed, get in your car, get to work? Don't remember the drive to work. You sit at your desk. You deal with the same crap. You get off work, pull up in your driveway. Don't remember the drive home. Have a few hours to spend with your family before it's time for bed. Then the alarm clock goes off, and it's time to start that cycle all over again. Then the weekend comes, and then the weekend flies by, and you have a grand old time again. Then the autopilot activates again on Monday morning. You get that credit card bill, and you look at your bank statement, and you blew the bag again. Now you're stressed and you're mad, you're depressed, you're desperate, you have anxiety, and you're trying to figure out how to dig yourself out of that hole again. When do you make time to just be still, to hear instructions on what you must do to better manage your life? Money mismanagement, time mismanagement, life mismanagement are all thieves that's keeping you from living the abundant life that is promised you in that scripture. So I've said this many times before in previous episodes of It's Crystal Clear that you were not created to work to pay bills, that you were not created to have constantly make choices on how to pay for food or your electric bill, that you were not created to be constantly sad, always depressed, anxious, worried, suicidal behind the lack of green slips of paper and maxed out credit cards. That is nowhere near the abundant life that you were created to experience. That is not the life that God wanted you to have. And when I say abundant life, that means more than money in the bank. An abundant life means more than enough money to live on. Having an incredible family, having supportive friends, having great health, lots of free time, living in the present and not waiting for something monumental to happen in the future. Like when I lose 30 pounds, I'm going to be happy. Or when I get that promotion, I'll be successful. When I find my spouse, I'm going to be complete. When I buy my home, I'll be content. If you're always looking at what it'll take for you to be satisfied tomorrow, you're missing out on your blessings that God is giving you right now. When you make time to be still, you will be able to pay attention to all that God has currently blessed you with. But you keep being busy and busy and busy. I want you to be still. Take time to spend with God and those things or people that really matter to you. Who really matters to you? If money were no object, what would you be doing right now? What does abundance look like to you? And how would you use your abundance to fulfill the great commandment, the great commission, and the great calling? So I had to ask myself that same question a few years ago. When I had questions about my life, when I had questions about my purpose, my calling, my reason for being created. And so I know I love developing communities, helping people achieve their dreams, helping people out of tough situations, helping people have hope. And I worked a lot of hours doing that, y'all, a lot of hours. And at times I found myself losing track of days because I was laser focused on the mission and all that it took to make each mission a success. Hours became months, months became years. Years became my children growing up. going off to college, getting married, and starting their lives, moving away. Now, I was a very active and I was a very present mom, but my life was a constant grind of working to help people and being an active parent. That left little to no time to just be still and know. Years of not intentionally being about fulfilling those three C's and making a way to live an abundant life was how I lived for years. Now, I know the work that I did was very beneficial and I know that it was impactful. And I know the families who were helped by the work of my team, I know they're very grateful and I know they're thankful. But looking back, I did start to wonder, was I fulfilling the three C's? And was I going in the direction of my abundance? I continued to overwork. I didn't slow down. Uh, my latte factor wasn't taking up my time to make sure I was spending it doing what I was called to do. A couple of years ago, I watched helplessly as my mom faded away to live eternity with God. That was very traumatic for me. My life came to a screeching halt. And it's like God forced me to sit and be still. He forced me to learn, focus, watch, give thanks to all He was doing right before my eyes. My mom worked longer hours than me, constantly moving, constantly helping people. She was constantly on the go for years until she couldn't go no more. So my mom was simply that woman who gave every bit of herself to make sure her children had what they needed to grow up and be who God called them to be. She gave every bit of herself to make sure that those around her had what they needed to grow up and be who God called them to be. She gave every bit of herself to serve God by serving his people. And there is no doubt in my mind that God allowed her to go to sleep on this side with us and wake up a few hours later on heaven's side with him. I really believe that for her. So after that happened, I started asking God, was that the same direction for me? And 2 months after my mom passed away, he gave me my answer in the most over the top, extra God sized way. I was privileged and honored to watch as my grandson entered the world. 6 pounds, 15 ounces of perfection. From the moment I held him, my world slowed all the way down. Every morning, I stopped rushing to get dressed, to head out the door, to do my part to conquer the world. Nope, all that stopped immediately. Every single morning when he was born, I wrapped him up and we would go sit on my porch. He would be knocked out and I would be still, listening to him breathe for hours. We both were just still. When I went to work, I was laser focused on what I had to have done that day. And once I was finished with that day, I rushed home so I can grab him to sit on the porch and just be still. Him sleep, breathing, me listening. That became my routine. That became a non negotiable to my schedule. So as he grew, my infatuation with him did as well. Y'all, he is so smart, so inquisitive, soaking up everything he saw, everything he heard. He realized that everything has a name, and he knew my job was to tell him what the names of those things were. He constantly pointed to everything. Then he turned around and he would look at me to slowly pronounce the names. And when I slowly pronounced the names, he repeated what I said. He is such a fast learner. Say a word once or twice, he got it. So, of course, I had to really slow down on the words that I said because I did not want to have part in raising a cussing baby. Amen. So we take walks in my neighborhood. He stops to look at the ants crawling on the street and he says, "Hi, ant." He watches frogs hop in the grass. He starts to hop too. He hears birds high in the tree and immediately he'll turn his head to try to find them. We go outside at night. He always looks at the sky and he says, "Hi, moon." He walks next to caterpillars, y'all, and he have deep conversations with them, like deep conversations with caterpillars. And y'all know how fast a caterpillar walks. Sarcasm. God uses my son and caterpillars to make me slow down. Be still and know. Know that God created this whole miraculous planet for us to learn from and for us to grow, for us to marvel at and be amazed by, for us to take care of so it can take care of us, for us to experience and for us to enjoy. Not for us to spend more than we earn, not for us to live paycheck to paycheck, not for us to be swamped in debt, not for us to be depressed and stressed behind little green slips of paper and little plastic cards, not for us to worry about how to pay our light bill each month, month after month after month. Not for us to lay awake at night crying about how we'll be able to feed our kids, not for us to rely on payday loans to help us get through another month after month after month. Not for us to ignore phone calls because the bill collectors are calling more than your family and your friends. Not for us to hide our vehicles so they won't get repossessed. Not for us to miss out on the amazing life that was created just for us. The life that you currently have, where you have more month than you have more money, more stress than more happiness, y'all, that's not abundance at all. That's not the abundance that's spoken in John 10 and 10. The abundance that's spoken in that verse is an overflow of blessings, is an overflow of wealth. It talks about overflow of good health, an overflow of love, an overflow of a meaningful life, an overflow of a life filled with purpose and joy. My grandson and that caterpillar was a reminder of the purpose that God created me to be. My purpose is to use my voice on platforms like It's Crystal Clear to remind God's people to be still. Make time for Him so that He can direct your every step, so that you can stop living paycheck to paycheck, so you can stop overspending, so you can stop worrying about bills, so that you can live your life according to Ephesians 3 and 20. A life that's exceedingly, abundantly above all that you can think or ask. Can you imagine your life being exceedingly and abundantly above what you can think or you can ask for? Make time to be still so you can have time to imagine that exceedingly. So you can imagine that abundantly above all. God clearly wants you to have it all. How do you know it's true? Because it is written. How do I know it's true? Because He made me be still so He could tell me to be committed to this platform in order to constantly remind you that you were created for way more than what you're allowing yourselves to have. You were destined for way more than you're allowing yourself to make time for. That the rewards that God has waiting for you is exceedingly, it is abundantly above all that you can want. But in order for you to hear and experience what He wants for you, you must be still. Okay, so that ends this week's episode of It's Crystal Clear. I really hope that this lesson blessed your life today. And I pray that God gives you the desires of your heart and that all of your plans succeed. I want you to make sure that you share this episode with those who you feel would benefit from its content. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, and we're on Apple. Special thanks to my behind the scenes team for making me be still and write these lessons every single week. And a special thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in and allowing me to help you along your journey towards the exceedingly abundantly above all you can imagine. Until next time, I want you to dream big. I want you to stay focused and live your best abundant life on purpose and within budget. I'll see you next time on It's Crystal Clear.